Welcome to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast, where every week, Kirsten and Jeanne dive into the essential topics to fuel your business growth, from copywriting to course creation, mindset to video marketing.
Your health is your business's greatest asset. Natalia, the conscious gut fit gal, is going to reveal today how optimizing gut health, emotional balance, and metabolism can boost your energy, your focus, and your resilience, helping you as an entrepreneur perform at your peak. So, welcome to the program, Natalia.
Thank you, Jeannie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So, today we're going to talk about how important it is for entrepreneurs to be conscious of their health and to be healthy to perform at their best. We're going to talk a little bit about how we can do that by healing from within through conscious functional nutrition. So tell me a little bit about functional nutrition and wellness and maybe how you got to here.
I became a functional nutritionist and I do coaching now because it took a while for me to get here based on my personal experience. I almost died from an eating disorder when I was 14 years old. I was a chubby kid and I wasn't feeling quite myself. And I went to live overseas and the weather just really didn't resonate with me. So I went from 146 to 154 pounds, something around that range, down to 83 pounds. And it wasn't until my dad walked into the hospital bed and he said, because of course I had to be hospitalized at 83 pounds, everything hurt. They did an EKG and my heart was the size of a chicken's heart. And finally, my dad walked in one day and he said, honey, I'm gonna call the tailor. And I'm like, great, because nothing fits at 83 pounds. And he said, no, for your coffin. So he woke me up. I had to wake up and I had to live. And I chose to live.
Wow, that's terrifying. I can't imagine that. That is a crazy significant amount of weight. So it was stress, mostly stress related.
It was stress. It was a seasonal affective disorder. I was misdiagnosed. A lot of people had tons of nutritional deficiencies, and I was misdiagnosed in terms of my thyroid, which is really linked with mood and hormonal health and circadian rhythms. I also was undiagnosed in terms of digestive health, so that also contributed. So it was just a bubble effect, and the bubble just blew up when I was in an environment that was not what was different, but it was just not supportive of my well-being in different aspects.
So tell us a little bit about how you learned about functional medicine, what you recommend to people now to take care of themselves.
I learned about functional nutrition because I've been practicing over 15 years and there's only so much a high fiber or a clean meal plan can do for people. And I just was getting stuck with folks that were doing the meal plan and they still had of symptoms of being brain fogged, hormonal, just flashes after menopause and yeah, let me help you with the food. And it's just I hit a wall, also digestive issues and people who were on the gym, like gym rats, right? Lifting 5 days a week and eating clean, and they would still not see results. So I got board certified in functional nutrition medicine, and that taught me a whole lot about the metabolism, neurotransmitters, cellular health, and pretty much what this meat suit, and by this meat suit, I say the physical body, and a lot of what impacts the well-being of this physical body. And now I've learned that it's way more than just what we eat. And therefore, I look at the genetics, I look at the microbiome, which is the species in the gut. I look at the mind-body connection and the awareness that that individual has about their choices and their habits and their emotions, because all that really impacts our well-being. And I feel nowadays people are just following the latest diet, whether that's keto, whether that it's paleo, counting calories, counting macros, and that's just not gonna get people too far because they're not really digging deep into the root cause, which is what I dig really deep with tests or just by really asking questions in my clients, answering really honest questions about their personal emotional health and emotional balance and awareness of where they're at and where they want to be. So it's a mix of both. If that
That makes total sense. And I would think the awareness is a big part of it. But it's interesting that you say there's lots of things out there that people talk about your diet and your nutrition and your whatnot. So give us a little tip or give us some idea of how you help people balance those or what you recommend to people.
First the thing is just being in the present moment. When we are in the present moment, we can really observe ourselves and take away any judgment that may come along with a certain emotion. Because the beauty of the present moment really offers us time and the opportunity to observe us. The way I like to explain this to many of the clients that I work with is imagine there's a spider hanging on the wall looking at you, and that you are that spider and you are observing yourself going into stressful mode or reacting to an email or binge eating on chocolate or chips because you feel maybe overwhelmed, overextended, or sad, or bored, or lonely. So the beauty of the present moment, it's the first step of becoming aware of any emotion, but also if you're judging the emotion. And that is really the first step. And then really realizing what is it that my emotion, right, is telling me something. It's like, okay, stress is knocking on your door, right? And it's like, hey, I'm here. And then you're okay. Thank you, stress, for letting me know that you're here. I realize that there's something going on that is making me react a certain way. But instead of reacting, which gives you very little time, you can then respond, because then you can ask yourself, stress can mean that I am very overwhelmed. Maybe I'm not having fun. Maybe I need to rest. Maybe I need to connect. Maybe I need to have a break, whatever that means. And then people can ask themselves, how and when can I meet that need? For me, when I feel sometimes overextended or when I feel just out of balance, I go to breath work to ground myself. Many times it's just tuning into another frequency of emotion. My favorite frequency is joy, because if we don't have joy, we really don't have health. You can cultivate joy so easily. I just came out from the ocean, and the reason why I love the ocean is because I swim with MP3 music and I just dance my ass off in the ocean. So it's not just getting a workout, it's being in nature, and it's also just dancing freely. It's free dance. But it doesn't have to be that. It can just be looking at a beautiful sunset. It can also be just looking out the window. It can also just be listening to something that really uplifts you, whether that's word, whether that's a poem, reading something that really resonates with a positive emotion. So switching that channel from stress, worry, fear, and just worriness to gratitude, joy, love, inspiration. Because you can't be on both frequencies at once. You can be on the elevated frequencies, which is joy, gratitude, inspiration, excitement, abundance, or you can be in worry, lack, fear. So it's just easy to change once you're where you're at. So that's the way I do it personally, but
I love
it's
that.
taken me some time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I love that because it's true about first you need to recognize that your body is going into a bad place or your mind is going into a bad place. And I think sometimes you don't realize you're holding your breath or everything's scrunched up in your hands. And so I would think that makes total sense that you first you need to recognize that and then you need to find something that eases that. And I would
Yes.
think that especially for entrepreneurs or business owners, they've sometimes got things coming at them from all different directions. And so they can get, like you said, an email, a phone call, something that somebody posted or wrote, commented can automatically send you into that crazy anxiety. So I would imagine it's good to have those kind of tools, like you said, the breath work, the what brings me joy kind of things.
Switching the channel and not feeding into the stress and the anxiety, letting it rest. What can I do that is going to produce an outcome that I feel good about? Always think about that. That's my course of action.
I love that. And you mentioned something about your gut biome. I've heard the term, I know a little bit about it, but why don't you explain to our listeners what that is and how you can measure it and what are we looking for?
So the gut microbiome would be one of the root causes when it comes to functional medicine. So as an example, you go to the doctor because you have reflux or you have diarrhea or you have some sort of digestive symptom. And most doctors will tell you, here's antacid or here is a whatever drug to mask the symptoms. You work on your diet and lifestyle and see you in 3 months. And that's like you being looked at as a plant and only being looked as the leaves. So what I specialize in functional medicine and functional nutrition is looking at the stem, which would be, okay, what systems are out of balance? And a lot of it, those systems could be detoxification. Somebody's not pooping. How are they going to lose weight? They're not going to lose weight. And they probably have a gut bacteria that is not contributing to optimal bowel movements. So looking at that model where you look at the symptom or the condition or the disease, and then looking at the systems that could be out of balance again, could be digestive, could be energy production, could be stress response. And then the root cause, one of the main root causes is microbiome, along with genes, and of course, food, movement, and stress response will be another one. But the microbiome pretty much is, you want to think about it as a rainforest. And a healthy microbiome is kind of like a garden that has a lot of biodiversity, and it gets fed with your food, with what you put in your mouth, versus a terrain of a microbiome that has been eroded by a lot of inflammation that can be coming from foods that are very pro-inflammatory. Also stress, also only eating the same 3 to 4 foods that are maybe highly processed or that may be good for you, but that are lacking diversity. A good biome is also a biome that's exposed to nature, because there's tons of research about nature and especially sunshine playing a significant role in the gut microbiome, and movement, because the gut, if you actually flatten it out, it's about the size of a tennis court. Imagine that organ. If we sit all day, it's not getting enough blood. How is that organ going to digest? How is that organ going to do all its basic things for you to absorb, digest, metabolize, and pretty much use up the foods that you're consuming? It's not going to happen if it doesn't get blood flow or oxygen from exercise or through work. So a healthy microbiome has a lot to do also with having a balanced gut-brain connection. So there's tons of research that we know that our thoughts impact the biome and that the biome impact the thoughts. So if people have ADHD or bipolar or anxiety, depression, I see it a lot. It has a whole lot to do with the microbiome, but also sometimes other things that I tend to figure out with advanced testing, that it's quite amazing and quite revealing once you get into that person's biology and you can actually hack what's the issue and what is contributing to, in this case, where we're talking about the microbiome, but digestive issues, but it can translate into pretty much any other condition. So I hope I answered your question.
That's fascinating. Absolutely. I did see a program that talked about there's good bacteria in your gut. So that some of it's supposed to be there. And then there's bad bacteria in your gut. The other thing that I learned not all that long ago was that how you feel when you eat impacts how your body absorbs the nutrients. It makes total sense, but I just thought it was fascinating because you never think about eating on the run, or when you're in the middle of something stressful and you're stuffing chips in your mouth or whatever. You just don't think about how your body's using that versus if you sat down, relaxed, you took your time and focused on your meal.
You're right on point. There's a lot of research being in terms of the central nervous system through the vagus nerve. And if we're not in rest and digest and really present, that is the beauty of the present moment, is that most people are on their devices or just rushing, or sometimes eating by the sink or eating by the fridge. So that doesn't allow, and especially eating in 3 to 5 minutes, that doesn't allow for the body to make bile, hydrochloric acid, and for the body to really digest. And a lot of people end up being super bloated and it's not quite satisfied because those secretions really never got done by the body. So I think that awareness is important to cultivate so that people can actually start to see meaningful shifts in their health. When it comes to, of course, gut health, but overall health awareness is the first step.
And I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, you need that energy. You need to be clear headed because you're making decisions constantly all day long. And so I would love to hear about you, maybe with one of your clients. Tell us how they were when they came to you and then how they were when they left working with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have so many stories. And I mean, one story that really comes to mind was about a lady that really had a problem not consuming sugar. And after she did her own work, weaning her out from sugar, then we did some testing because she lost a lot of weight, but she still had a lot of symptoms. She was referred to me by a doctor because she had other medical conditions that needed to be looked at, like diabetes, fatty liver. She was postmenopausal, but she also had a lot of digestive issues. So we found out that she actually had celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease. And so many folks get not diagnosed with autoimmune disease until it's already full blown. And she told me, I've been to a lot of doctors and I don't know what else to do. I have all these symptoms. I've gained 25 pounds over the last maybe 8 to 10 months, and I'm really exercising. I'm eating really clean. I've cut out my sugar. So, what is it? When we did a root cause assessment, which is an assessment that is very thorough, where I have people complete forms and just tell me a lot of what there's going on with them. Then we decided to really dig deep into her microbiome and into her hormones and also into her cellular health and see if she had any toxic load. So we found out in her gut that she had an autoimmune triggering bacteria. So if we had not realized that and did a treatment to eradicate that bacteria, heal the leaky gut, which is the doorway to autoimmune disease, and really repair the gut, the process would have continued to spread to other organs because that is how autoimmunity actually works. Like the body attacks itself. So you can have autoimmune disease in the gut, such as Crohn's or celiac, but if you don't catch and if you don't stop it, now you may end up with rheumatoid arthritis or MS. So that was great that we just realized that. And then we also did a test that showed that she had heavy metals and she had a bunch of mercury, and that had to do with eating a lot of tuna and also water that was not filtered. And she did all the work on really looking at her makeup, personal care products, water, and that was huge because we did find a lot of other toxins with other tests that we did. And when we look at her hormones, we actually realized that her estrogen, when I looked at estrogen pathways with the Dutch test. That's a very well-known test for hormonal balance. We realized that a lot of her estrogen was not being detoxified, that it was being held into her body. So that's why she couldn't lose weight, in addition to having all these toxins. So the estrogen was actually putting her at risk for developing cancer. That happens a lot when people don't eat antibiotic free or hormone free meats. We developed a program so that she could detoxify, of course, lifestyle. You get some sweating, eat food so that you have a regular bowel movements. And after we rebalanced her gut, she was able to really have her bowel movements under control. And also just lifestyle, sweat, drinking of water. It's all together. It's not just the treatment, it's lifestyle. It's the way to be. So we figured out a lot via testing, and she had a genetic variation that had a lot to do with the way that she was feeling in terms of not being able to focus, also very inflamed and just having some ADHD issues. So we addressed that genetic variation with very targeted treatment. And now she's like, oh my God, I'm like a new person. I can work out. I'm lean. I've lost 30 pounds and I have energy and I don't have to be running to the bathroom and my cravings are gone. So
Wow.
that was a whole transformation story.
That certainly is a transformation. Wow. It must have been very frustrating for her to cut out sugar and then still be gaining weight because you think that's it. Sugar is the bad, evil ingredient in so many things. In fact, my husband is English. And when he came over here to live here in the States, he was like, even your bread has sugar in it. Sugar is in everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't cut out sugar because a lot of sugar is bad for you. But it's fascinating how that wasn't just one thing. It was a whole bunch of things, and how you had to really dig into your lifestyle. Like you said, the heavy metals, you don't think about like your toothpaste and your cream you put on your face, and all these things are getting into your body. And I don't know if we are necessarily observant and attentive to that. So that is fantastic.
Beauty of thing really revealed a lot of nutritional deficiencies. And when you look at metabolism, if you eat avocado for breakfast, you need certain nutrients to turn that avocado into actual substrate so that then your body can actually use it to make brain cells, as an example. So she was very deficient in essential nutrients to actually burn body fat. And a lot of people like, just I'm eating right and I'm going to the gym, why am I not losing body fat? Well, have we looked deep into your biology? And a lot of it would also mindset and her thoughts. She was like, my body's betraying, my body's just turning on me. And we really had to address the thinking and the emotions because she was not in a good space. So we started cultivating gratitude for what she could do, for how far she had gone. And I got her going into counting her daily wins and always starting with a gratitude journal and thanking her body and really thanking a lot of the goodness that she did have in her life. And that just cultivating a winning mindset. And I had her doing that at the beginning of the day and also at the end of the day. And that just got her just set up for the day for success. Because without that, I don't know that she would have been so determined to just really follow the program.
I
That's
love
where
that. So make sure you're taking note of what you're grateful for, because we all do have things in our life. Life is tough. A lot of things go wrong, but there are always even small things to be grateful for. So maybe that's a good tip for people to walk away from this conversation, is knowing that they should write down maybe 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening. Make it simple. And I think, like I said, especially for business owners, you've got a lot of people involved. You've got people who are working for you. You've got clients. You've got things that you're trying to balance. So I think remembering that there are things, so many things to be grateful for, is such a great start. Natalia, this has been fantastic. You are a wealth of information. The last thing I'm going to ask you is, what is the best way for people to reach out to you if they say, I hear what she's saying and I think she can help me? So I'd love to learn more.
they can reach out to me at my website, which is fnwellness.com. Email is probably better. So it is my name, Natalia, Natalia, at F as a Fernando, N as a Natalia, and then the word wellness, fnwellness.com. They can also find me on Instagram as food.and.health.coach. I know that there will be more postings on this post for where people can find me on Facebook, but that would be the best way. And I'll let everybody know that really, for you to feel good and look good, it's important to cultivate positive emotion because that dictates everything in this meat suit that a lot of people are like, wow, you look amazing. What you do? Well, I practice gratitude, but you know what? I cultivate a lot? Joy. So live your life with joy and let your joy heal you.
What an amazing way to end this episode. Thank you so much, Natalia. We will put all the links where people can reach you in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining me today and inspiring everyone listening to get healthy and to stay healthy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for listening to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this episode and you are ready to leverage video marketing on all online platforms, or maybe even start your own video podcast, then you need to check out the Done For You and Done With You program at themarketingvaadvantage.com and take your business to the next level.